The Greek government debt crisis, also known as the Greek Depression, started in late 2009. It was the first of 5 sovereign debt crises in the Eurozone, later referred to collectively as the European debt crisis. In Greece, triggers of the crisis included the turmoil of the Great Recession, structural weaknesses in the Greek economy, and a sudden crisis in confidence among lenders. In late 2009, fears developed about Greece's ability to meet its debt obligations due to revelations that previous data on government debt levels and deficits had been misreported by the Greek government. This debt crisis has affected the country and its people in numerous ways, but the government officials have had to deal with an increase in stress, which has led to a reduction in motivation for the country. Officials feel like they have done everything to try and get their country out of this crisis, yet they have just been bailed out for the 3rd time. Minister Alex Tsipras was under intense pressure as Greek banks were on the brink of collapse and the country faced the prospect of having to print a parallel currency and quit the European Monetary Union. Greece has had problems making payments on loans from the International Monetary Fund and on bonds held by the European Central Bank. These obligations amount to $24 billion. Greece's minister is dealing with the lot on his plate right now, and people are demanding from him. Tsipras needs to manage task, physical, role, and interpersonal demands. I can only imagine what Greece's minister is going through, and I hope he is taking necessary steps to manage his stress in healthy ways. Tsipras should be doing exercise, trying to relax when he can, using time management, and managing stress through support groups. Greece is a beautiful country with strong people, and hopefully the government will save their country in the near future.
The Greek government debt financial crisis began around the year 2009 and is ongoing. Within the country, different actions have taken place and plans have been implemented to help ease the crisis and its effects on the country's entire government system, as well as the effects on the country's citizens. Some of the earliest measures were 2 austerity packages released in 2010. They froze all salaries of government employees and work-related travel and made cuts to bonuses. Both overall failed, and up until the present day, 6 austerity packages have been released during various points of contention and violent riots, including the burning of Athens. From bailout payments to resignations of politicians and the income of many Greeks decreasing drastically, this crisis has had far-reaching effects on the population's well-being. Years of the financial crisis have culminated within the last weeks. The country owes billions of pounds to banks and other countries in Europe, but some of these countries have agreed to help Greece out. In exchange, the Greek government will have to do lots of things to try to reduce what they owe, like increasing the amount of money they take off the Greek people in tax and reducing how much older people get in their pension. After a first and second bailout, the European Union has given Greece a third. This follows tense talks with the Greek government and the Eurozone leaders to approve this third bailout, on the condition that Greece implements new austerity measures and without agreeing any write-off of Greek debt. The terms agreed are tougher than those rejected in the July 5th referendum. An EU statement on Monday said that they would give Greece 86 billion euros over the next 3 years. The deal came after long talks through the night and weeks of uncertainty.
Greece has been in a financial crisis for some time now. Creditors have been seeking to strike a deal with Greece in order to be paid back the money they lent to bail out the Mediterranean country. The Greek government not only has to deal with the creditors breathing down its neck, but it also has to deal with the 11 million angry Greek citizens. In January of 2015, the Syriza party was elected to power. This was after the quote-unquote emergency election after no political party was elected in December of 2014. The Syriza's platform was that it would save the country from the austerity packages being thrown its way from creditors. Unfortunately for the party, they could not fulfill the promises that they made. On July 5th, Greek Parliament put up the newest austerity package to be voted on. At least 60% of Greeks said no in an attempt to block the package. The government then communicated this result to the creditors in an attempt to get a better deal. However, this backfired as the banks rejected this motion and imposed an even stricter deal. Tax hikes and pension cuts are a part of these austerity measures. Greece will receive 83 billion euros from this deal in its third bailout in 5 years. The people of Greece are not very happy with their government, and there have been members of parliament that have since resigned since the acceptance of the new austerity package.
Conflict is, for the most part, an unavoidable part of having a large organization. When dealing with the economic problems of an entire nation, as in the case of Greece, you have to factor in the many different opinions that tend to be present in large organizations. Recently, there have been dangerous riots in the streets of Athens, Greece, as a result of the recent austerity measures passed by their parliament. With the Greek economic crisis, there was undoubtedly going to be some type of tension among the people. Nevertheless, I believe that the Greek government was doing an appropriate job of controlling the conflict. In the situation where the people tend to feel powerless, they used a referendum to appease the voters and allowed them to choose their fate. After the voters rejected austerity measures, however, the parliament passed even stronger austerity measures. By giving the common people of their organization a voice and ultimately ignoring it, the Greek parliament allowed the conflict in their organization to increase. Furthermore, the limits on withdrawals at banks due to the fear of bank runs are still present even after the measures have passed. The consequence of the increased conflict within the Greek organization is the riots that are happening right now. Those who are still young and have had little part in the policies that allowed the Greek crisis to happen are the ones that also have the power to fight back in this violent manner. At the end of the day, the violent reaction caused by the organizational conflict could easily have been predicted and prevented. Since the Greek parliament did not do an appropriate job of following through with the controlling of the conflict, they now have to figure out a way to reach conflict resolution in the organization. After they have in essence betrayed the confidence of those in their organization, it will be difficult to have any form of negotiation with the rioters, as there is now a lack of trust among the people against parliament. The people of the organization are angry, to the point of rioting in the streets. Resolving a conflict as deep as the one facing Greece is a task that will not be easy.
As you've seen, Greece has many problems with their debt crisis, not only financially, but through their personnel. Just like Catherine talked about, with many employees having a reduced motivation and increase of stress that has been brought about them because of this crisis, and the security on Maslow's hierarchy, which is not being met. Also, Amelia talked about the actions undertaken to lead its country against its crisis and how the downfalls and shortcomings have come about. Also, Kevin talked about the role of communication or lack of communication between the Greek government and its people, and how that disjoint has brought about many unrest. And speaking of unrest, Ertasa talked about the recent riots due to the conflict and the negotiation because of this backlash, and what the future of Greece is.